Hey, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. And oddly enough, I was just putting on the Dark Side of the Ring again. I was going to watch this episode a second time because we got cut off earlier. I did a video earlier where I had my initial Dark Side of the Ring plane ride from hell thoughts. But there's already been an update, more of a ramification update. Tommy Dreamer has been suspended by Impact Wrestling. You can find that headline all over the internet by now. I found it on NoDQ, NoDQ.com. I'll try to read this for you, folks. Nordholm was the gentleman being quoted here. Let's see here, folks. Tommy Dreamer suspended indefinitely from Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling's Ed Nordholm sent out an email. Sorry, I'm plugging in. Sent out an email to the company's roster and staff today regarding Dreamer. Nordholm wrote in the email that Dreamer has been suspended from the company indefinitely. Johnson noted the following about the email. Nordholm stated that the company was made aware of comments Dreamer made on last night's Dark Side of the Ring, and they were out of line with our core values as a company. During the episode, Dreamer said the following about the alleged incident with Flair, quote, this is Tommy Dreamer on the show. He could move his hips, twirl it, and so his well-endowed penis spins around like a helicopter. So, hey, he's the nature boy for a reason. He's got a hammer on him. Further quote of Tommy Dreamer, Ric Flair's not going to try to impose by force any sexual stuff onto anybody. He's just flaunting, styling, and profiling, doing the Ric Flair stuff where everybody's going to laugh about it. But obviously someone took offense to it. Yeah, I guess so. And so this, interesting, folks, we're in a day and age when what you did, or maybe even what you said or what you thought, 20 years earlier, 19 years earlier, could come back to haunt you. And for some of these wrestlers, in this case, Tommy Dreamer, who I've said I've met several times, he's always been a nice guy to me. But Tommy was kind of, was he defending Ric Flair's behavior? I guess you could say that. Was he justifying it? Was he being insensitive? As I said in my earlier video, the thing about documentary filmmaking or documentary television making is that the subject matters being interviewed don't necessarily have the footage of the other interview subjects when they make their statements. No, I was actually watching this episode again because I really wanted this episode to sink in. So because of this breaking news, I stopped myself from watching the episode a second time. And I wanted it to sink in. I wanted to really hear what these guys had to say, and the steward, the lady, like for instance, on this second watch, I'm realizing that she just had a baby before this incident, so she's coming off of pregnancy leave, and you just got to put yourself in her position that here she is trying to start her life as a new mother, and she's going back to work. And like she says, she's trying to pay her bills, and she's getting harassed. So in this situation, and like I said, the plane ride from hell is nothing new for wrestling fans. If you're not just a wrestling fan who watches WWE every week, if you actually listen to podcasts, if you go on YouTube, I was watching today even. I listened to Six or Sean Waltman, X-Pac, whatever you want to call him. He was describing the plane ride from hell. Of course, his opening statement to Sean Oliver is, "Oh, I've been on flights worse than that." Okay. So, I'd like to hear about those flights, I guess. But, then I listened to Razor or Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, talk about it. And he, like I said in my earlier video, his excuse or his thought is just that he was on a halcyon. A lot of these guys are blaming Kurt Hennig, who, of course, is deceased, so Kurt can't defend himself or admit to what he did, if he did anything, as far as Lacey's and drinks, and who knows. So it's a big mess. But the pro wrestling industry has faced a lot of challenges this year, and another challenge is going on right now. And it's interesting to see how these companies are dealing with it. Also interesting to see if the wrestlers, you know, one thing that might be a ramification about this, but of course, wrestlers being wrestlers, they'll all take camera time. I was going to say, well, will it be harder for the dark side of the ring guys to do another video, another episode, or another series, another season? I thought about that for about half a second, and probably not, because the wrestlers want that screen time. I mean, it goes back to Eddie Mansfield and the John Stossel report back in 1985. I mean, these guys will do anything to be on camera. So I was going to say, is it going to be harder for Dark Side of the Ring to get stories or to get quotes? I don't know. I mean, I think no one's really taken Jim Ross to task on this. He obviously is pretty critical of a lot of the behavior on the flight, and takes some responsibility. Junior Vince McMahon doesn't appear on the episode, nor has he appeared on any Dark Side of the Ring episode as himself, as a talking head. Probably not something he wants to do. So what do you guys think, or what do you ladies think? What do you think of this situation? Do you have opinions? I did my earlier video. Like I said, I might have to do a third video because I was right in the middle of watching this episode for the second time. And like I said, Tommy Dreamer has always been good to me. He's a nice guy. But in this situation, he's kind of the guy defending the business on this episode, and the chips are not falling in his direction. It's kind of, here's a thought for you. It's ironic and it's kind of sad if Tommy Dreamer is going to be more punished for defending Ric Flair, or justifying Ric Flair, or whatever you want to call it. Excusing Ric Flair might be the best way of putting it. It's kind of sad that Tommy's taken more of a hit than Flair did, and probably will. Other things on Twitter, people have been talking about this, or tweeting about this, is, was there a out-of-court settlement? Was there a NDA, non-disclosure agreement, with the woman, the airline steward, and the WWE? I don't know the answer to that. I'll look into that, but some Twitter person was suggesting, well, she shouldn't be saying this because she probably signed an NDA. Well, I don't know if she did or she didn't. I really don't know. So I think it's just it's an interesting situation. But I remember hearing about this plane ride from hell for years, and once again, I was nowhere near it. Around this time, I was definitely watching WWE, and like they said in the show, this was, I think, just 2 months before the first ever Total Nonstop Action Wrestling TNA, NWA TNA. So once again, Tommy Dreamer suspended indefinitely from Impact Wrestling. He's given them a lot over the last couple of years. I mean, I didn't like the fact that they had Joey Ryan and Wrestler's Court and all this inside crap in that company. I haven't watched Impact very closely for years, except when the Impact wrestlers come over to AEW. I think it's a great point that someone made on my previous chat. I think it was Adam. Could have been somebody else. But will Tony Khan reconsider bringing Ric Flair in? I mean, it doesn't seem like a great move to do right now. AEW wrestling is very, for the most part, politically correct. For the most part, not always. Very politically aware, very Twitter aware, very social media aware. If the tide is that, Ric Flair, if he's not the most popular he's ever been right now, if he's a hot item in a negative sense, they might distance himself from Ric. And Ric does a lot of direct social media stuff, so I think it'd be interesting if he comes out and says something, Ric Flair. If he and Wendy, I think, going on his fourth or fifth wife, the old Fifi the maid. Will it be interesting if Flair makes a public statement? He might be advised not to. But this is very interesting, I think, because, like I said, will Dark Side of the Ring as a series be affected by this? Will it be harder for them to get a fourth or fifth season. I don't know if they've already shot stuff for a fourth season, but will it be harder for them to get talking heads for a fifth season? Because I think the wrestlers now are seeing that if there's going to be repercussions for them, going on camera and making statements about things that happened 15 or 20 years ago, they might think twice, especially in a case like Dreamer, where I don't want to say that Tommy Dreamer was playing a character, but I think he was kind of playing the company line, a bit in wrestling character. But I don't know. I can't speak for him. I'm not him. Like I said, I do think it's kind of ironic and sad that Dreamer's getting more punished for excusing Flair than Flair actually got punished or will be punished for being Flair. And I do think that, once again, it's this difference between wrestling people and normal people. To put a fucking button on this, it's just that the wrestlers and the wrestling community think that the world revolves around them. And it probably applies to things like the NBA, the NFL, or even the NHL, where the athletes. I remember talking to a UFC guy once, and he just was so shocked that I didn't know the exact date of his title match with Rich Franklin. It was Nate Corey, and Nate was a great guy, nothing like this. But I was talking to Nate and about to interview him, and I said, "Hey, what are you getting ready for?" He's like, "We have a title match with Rich Franklin." I said, "Well, when's that?" He said, "Oh, you don't watch the news, do you?" And I just knew that these UFC guys, like the wrestlers, probably like a lot of sports athletes or whatever, actors, people in the public eye, they have such an inflated sense of ego and such an inflated sense of self that they expect everyone else to be revolving around them. And the real world doesn't work like that, folks. And so, we're seeing that right now. So I find it interesting. Like I said, I was watching the Dark Side of the Ring Plane Ride from Hell episode uh, for the second time just now, and I stopped what I was doing to come here to talk to you. I am doing this with the direct YouTube video, not with StreamYard, so it's a little bit of a different thing. I don't see any chats going on, but you're welcome to chime in. But in any event, I think I'll end this stream right now, and I'll check in later. And when I finally get through this second episode, maybe I'll do a whole response video. But I think it's interesting times, folks. Very interesting times. So subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Thanks for checking it out. Like I said, I did an earlier video on the same topic, and I'll probably do a third video because this is a story in motion, so to speak. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Talk to you later.